Hello and welcome back to channel. Please watch full video as I am at learning stage. And your view will help me at this stage. Content will improve once I get enough resources. Let's begin that night's story. There are places in this world that carry a silence so heavy you can almost hear the past breathing through the walls. Places where tragedy isn't an accident, it's tradition. In downtown Los Angeles, at 640 South Main Street, there stands one of those places. A towering relic of faded luxury and lingering death. They call it the Hotel Cecil. It began with dreams. In 1924, a man named William Banks Hanna envisioned a magnificent hotel, one that would embody the elegance of the Roaring Twenties. He poured millions into marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and gilded staircases. A palace for the elite, in what was then a booming Los Angeles. When it opened in 1927, the Cecil was a jewel of prosperity. 14 stories tall. 700 rooms. A grand lobby that welcomed travelers, dreamers, and businessmen. But prosperity has a way of fading. When the Great Depression hit, the shine of the Cecil dulled into rust and sorrow. The guests changed, not men in suits, but the broken and the desperate. The hotel's name began to echo not with laughter, but with screams. And from that moment on, the Cecil became something else. Not a hotel. A magnet for misery. The first recorded death came in 1931. A man named W.K. Norton checked into room 321. He was polite, quite a traveling salesman. 1 week later, they found him dead. He had swallowed poison. In his pocket, a note: "I'm tired of everything." It didn't stop there. Not that year. Not ever. Within just a few years, the Cecil became notorious for what the Los Angeles press began to call the Suicide Hotel. A businessman leapt from his window in 1934. A Marine fired a bullet through his own skull in 1940. A woman jumped while holding her baby. The infant was killed instantly on impact. They began to say the Cecil wasn't cursed. It was the curse. By the 1950s, downtown Los Angeles had rotted. Drugs, poverty, and crime filled the streets. The Cecil stood in the middle of it, towering above Skid Row, a place many never left. Inside, its rooms filled with drifters, addicts, and those running from something. The hotel had changed hands, changed paint, changed owners, but never its fate. Because no matter who managed it, the guests never really checked out. In 1964, the horror deepened. A woman named Pigeon Goldie Osgood, a retired telephone operator who lived permanently in the Cecil, was found murdered in her room. She was kind, known for feeding the pigeons in Pershing Square every day. When they found her, she'd been raped, beaten, and strangled. Her room ransacked. Her hat, the one she always wore, crumpled on the floor beside her body. The police never solved it. And just like that, the legend of the Cecil grew darker. The strange energy of the hotel seemed to call to something even worse. In the 1980s, a man named Richard Ramirez checked in. You might know him by another name, the Night Stalker. He was a serial killer, a sadist who terrorized Los Angeles, sneaking into homes, murdering families, leaving satanic symbols on walls. During his killing spree, Ramirez lived at the Cecil. He paid $11 a night. When he returned from his murders, he would toss his bloody clothes in the hotel dumpster, walk barefoot through the lobby, and ride the elevator to his room. No one stopped him. Because no one cared. At the Cecil, he was just another face. Years later, another serial killer, Jack Unterweger, also stayed there. He was an Austrian journalist, ironically writing about crime in Los Angeles. But he, too, was a murderer strangling prostitutes with their own bras. He chose the Cecil deliberately, as if drawn to its history of blood. By the time the 2000s arrived, the hotel's reputation was infamous. Guests spoke of strange smells, flickering lights, and whispers in empty corridors. Elevators that moved by themselves. Doors that unlocked in the night. Some swore they saw faces in the mirrors. Others said they felt watched even when they were alone. The Cecil was falling apart. But its darkness wasn't done feeding. January 2013. A 21-year-old Canadian student named Elisa Lam arrived in Los Angeles. She was bright, curious, a traveler exploring the world before finishing her studies. She checked into the Cecil Hotel on January 28. At first, everything seemed normal. She called her family daily. She posted travel photos online. She mentioned meeting odd people at the hotel but brushed it off. Then, one day, she vanished. No calls. No messages. No trace. The hotel staff claimed they hadn't seen her leave. The police searched every floor, every hallway. Nothing. Then they found the elevator video. It was February 14 when LAPD released it to the public. A 4-minute clip from a security camera showing Elisa inside an elevator, acting in a way that chilled millions. She presses multiple buttons. The doors don't close. She steps in and out, peeking into the hallway as if someone's following her. Then, she starts gesturing, her arms moving in strange, fluid motions, like she's talking to something unseen. At one point, she hides against the wall, as if terrified. Then she's gone. The doors close. That was the last time anyone ever saw her alive. For days, police scoured Los Angeles. Her parents flew from Vancouver to join the search. Posters covered downtown. And then the guests at the hotel began to complain. The water tastes strange. The shower pressure is weak. The water comes out black at first. Maintenance workers went to the roof. There, hidden behind a heavy metal door, they found a water tank. One of the 4 large cylinders supplying the hotel. When they opened the hatch, they found her. Elisa Lam's body was floating inside. She had been there for weeks. The discovery stunned the world. How did she get into a locked, alarmed rooftop area? How did she climb the tank and get inside without anyone seeing? And why was she behaving so strangely in the video? The official report called it an accident. They said she drowned after a manic episode. But even the police admitted none of it made sense. To this day, the questions remain. Why did the elevator malfunction only for her? Why were the timestamps on the video distorted? Why did the lid too heavy for one person to close from inside appear sealed when they found her? People began to say the Cecil claimed her. That she was just the latest soul drawn into its endless hunger. In the years since, dozens of theories have surfaced. Some say she was possessed. Some believe she was chased. Some think she never left that elevator at all, that what we saw wasn't entirely human. And still, even now, guests claim to feel her presence. They hear water dripping in the walls. They hear footsteps above their room even though the rooftop is locked. And sometimes, the elevator stops on the 14th floor even when no one presses the button. The Cecil was eventually renamed Stay on Main, as if a new sign could erase its past. But it didn't work. Because ghosts don't care about branding. The building still stands. Still in downtown Los Angeles. Still staring into the night with 1,000 empty windows. And sometimes, late at night, a light flickers on in one of those windows. A shadow moves past. And if you're close enough, you might hear the faint sound of water. If you've made it this far, take a deep breath. You've just walked through one of the darkest corridors in modern history. And before you go, remember there are places in this world that keep what they take. The Cecil is one of them. Maybe one day, it'll take something else. Maybe someone watching right now. So, if you enjoyed this story and want more true horror from the world's strangest places, make sure to subscribe to Horror Night Stories, and turn on notifications, because next time the darkness might be closer than you think. This was The Curse of Hotel Cecil, a true story slightly darker than the truth itself. And remember, sometimes, checking in is the last thing you'll ever do.